Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is the whole info show. I cough periodically through the show. It's to clear my throat, and I'll be sucking on lozenges, adding my comments and opinions throughout this show. So this show is a very important show. It's not for the heart. It's not for disbeliever. This show is going to be one that is going to be the key to all our problems and how we can solve this as little people. So, take everything with a grain of salt. Do your own research. I will be posting links throughout the show, probably more towards the end, to discuss. The evidence is be here for you guys to research it for yourselves. And GOP, Republican, this is not only a problem solver for the U.S., other countries as well, to find the stem or the root of the problem. Bear with me as I try to get through the show. And again, like I say, I will be pulling up different information and articles. I will give links to the actual information where I get information from, where the has not action or against this inside of speech all under. And I will be replacing the show with Twitter, and hopefully other people out there will pick up. Just close to the microphone so that you can hear me. All right. Now, this information I give you is going to be very critical. And as much reading and then some, it seems like the exposure to our stem of the root problems are the big key to how we not only expose it, but how we can go after it with authority to fix the problem, to arrest the problem, to get it justified with justice. Now, I know everybody has made mistakes in the past, but when you do it with intent and for a profit, then that's where it crosses the line for me. And what I do is I try to tell you the truth. The truth according to where I get my information from, which will be posted with the link. So bear with me. We're going to start with the first one here. I don't know how many of you guys remember something called the Panama Papers. Okay. There is Panama Papers and there is Paradise Papers. The Panama Papers came way before the Paradise Papers happened. Okay. You can look this up. I will be here on this. Bear with me here. All right. So, all right. So the Panama Papers, like I said, I believe came before the Paradise Papers. A lot of higher ups know what this is. A lot of people like me didn't know what this was, and so this is what we're going to be trying to get through. You can look this up in the link that I've given you down below for what I'm going to be talking about. But this is basically a finance detailed document of roughly 2.5 tidbit of information with 11 million leaked documents that detail financial and attorney-client information for more than 250,000 offshore entities that leaked beginning April 3rd in 2016. The documents go back to the 1970s. And it was created and taken from former Panamanian law firm and a corporate service. Now, everything I want you guys out there, make sure you got a paper and pencil, take your notes accordingly, and connect the dots throughout everything I'm talking about with what's going on currently, including the situation with the election and the former or past and present people and anything in politics in the U.S., okay? And you're going to see how this is going to connect internationally. Now, in this here, they call something, in these papers, they call it somewhere as an offshore magic circle, which was part of a shell corporation used for illegal purposes, okay, for fraud, tax evasion, and international sanctions. Now, some of you guys probably heard of tax shelters or tax havens. There's many countries still in the world, including around the U.S., not in the U.S., but other places near the area of the U.S., that are hosting for tax havens and tax shelters to the elite, to the rich. And this includes people in Silicon Valley as well. Now, and I'm not naming names yet, okay? But a lot of this is also linked with many people that brought out whistleblowing information and leaked documents from the past, and how this is out in the open now, but people really haven't gotten into this part of it because they're awake, but they didn't dig down deep enough into that rabbit hole to pull this out. So this is what I'm doing, is trying to pull this out. So they're talking about in a whistleblower in 2016, they're just calling him John Doe right now, as an income inequality reason for the action for the leaked documents, basically, that happened back in 2016. And they said that they verify the statement come from the source from the Panama Papers, which is from the International Consortium of Investigative Journalism. Now, anybody that's on a YouTube channel, our Fugu family or whoever else that might be connected to that or anything else, they try to do investigation for different things and different subjects and stuff like this. But when it covers a lot of items, whether it's dealing with finances, whether it's dealing with military, weather warfare, anything in the world, it's always centered around this. And then these branches of whether it's weather warfare or dealing with weapons or contractors, government contractors, or corruption with the election or anything else, all stems from all this stuff. So what I'm bringing to you today is the actual eye of the storm. Okay? I'm bringing you the Kraken's eye, I'll put it that way. Okay? So, or just the eye of the storm, let's put it that way. Anyway, there was over 170 media organizations in 80 different different countries that analyze these documents in their own operations and law firms. And then it was published on April 3rd, 2016, along with 150 documents themselves. So they not only talked about it, but they released the information as well. Also mobile collaboration and so on and so forth. In October 2020, the German authorities, arrested two founders of the law firm for tax evasion, exposing the Panama Papers. So remember in shows in my past, a year ago or more, I always keep on telling you guys, reverse the money trail. I don't care how high or how low the person is in social status or otherwise, or if they're in a political status, or if they're an everyday life person. You can always find the situation on it. And I'm hearing, different threats saying, oh, they're going to take you to court and all this stuff. I didn't do nothing wrong. I'm just exposing the truth from the information I give with proof of where I'm getting the information from. It's not to be used against me. It's just my opinion throughout everything I show you. Okay? You can make your own assumptions at your end. This is going beyond the awakening. This is going now to action. And in order for us to nip the corruption that we have in DC, in Washington, okay, or in other countries that might have similar problems, you have to go to the core of the problem that's causing all this domino effect in these different branches throughout the world, including, you probably saw on TV, the latest big arrest with drugs globally, okay? This is all reversing the money trail situation, guys. Very clever how they did that too, by the way. Remember, I gave you a warning on your smart devices the government isn't listening in? Yeah, they listened in. They set everybody up on the drug situation. So whether you're a little drug person or a global drug person, they got your nads, dude, because they've already got where you're at. They know everything about you, So, and it goes to anybody, But I'm just here to try to talk about it and get through the whole situation of exposing what all is going on, okay? And basically getting to the eye of the problem. So getting back to the Panama Papers. I will show you a site here next after I go through this where I'm getting detailed, more information kind of thing. But here also too, this is basically including the shell company, okay? Now, right here it's saying, let's see, General Against the Law, its own offshore shell company may sometimes be used for illegal purposes. Now, I want you to connect the dots, those that have seen my channel before. Roughly a year ago, and I've been on other people's talk shows talking about the South Border issue with the connection with Venezuela, with connections to the oil companies, gas companies, which is what? Shell? Yeah. And then some? Yeah. So all this stuff is like the pieces of the puzzle are coming tightly together. They're together, and this is what we're putting them together, and for you to see where the root of the problem is coming from, okay? So anyway, we know that there's a part of Shell Company that has corruption in it, basically, using for illegal purposes, okay? Some disclosure showing that they have tax avoidances in very poor countries with very wealthy entities, meaning your elite, okay, which includes Silicon Valley, okay, which includes a lot of billionaires and millionaires throughout the globe, okay. For example, here's one here for Benny Steinmetz in Antigua, owing more than $700,000 in property taxes to the city of Candu in Sierra Leone. And it's about 150 million in the red, even though the experts were more than twice the average in 2015 and 2050. So this just gives you a good example of one elite, okay, just one, okay. While they have these documents, they also have conversations, They have conservation, uh, talking against each other or with each other, through emails, on phones, in documents, letters, etc., and so forth. All that stuff's all been recorded. There was also in Uruguay here 5 people charged with money laundering through Mossack on a Sofika, whatever shell company, for a Mexican drug cartel. So the source, to put you together, remember the Mexican cartel was the ones that's bringing the people over the south border right now and flushing the south border with babies and children and all this stuff. But yet, our sitting POTUS and assistant POTUS is not doing anything about it. So this shows you the proof of the money laundering connections that's involved with big elite people, okay, like the Shell Company and the Mexican cartel that is funding all this stuff, and their legalities coming through the south border. Are you starting to see a little bit and connecting the dots there? Now, also here, if you think that's bad enough, listen to this, okay? There was also a partner in an investigation that discovered evidence with Carmen Wade received payments from the DP World for a long friend convicted of his trial that the United Nations and Amnesty International said was unfair and violated defendant rights. Okay, and it says that the journalist found the Mossack whatever documents, which is the Shell documents, showing payment to Wade, okay, via DP subsidiary and the Shell Company registered to a friend. So to understand how they're getting away with it at that time is they're hiding their payments, okay, and putting it under a different subsidiary so that it doesn't show that, Shell or the name of the owner of Shell was actually involved with it, okay? Also, the Swiss lawyer of Dieter Luper was also accused of mishandling client funds and helping both Ulstrich and the Qatar royal family to hide money. So if you want to know why, the Qatar royal family, that's what, over there in the Saudi area, I think, right? Why they got so much money, why they got so much gold is because why they're mishandling it, they're hiding it, stuff like that. And then you think about putting 2 and 2 together with the government contractors that did arms deals with them, that did trade deals with them, etc., and so forth. Okay, connect those dots. Hang on a minute while I get something from my throat. All right. Then in the leak were 12 current former leaders, 128 public officials and politicians, and hundreds of celebrities, businessmen, and wealthy individuals in over 200 countries. So this is globally. It's not just the United States. It's globally. And it affects everything. It affects our leaders. It affects our public officials. It affects our politicians, our celebrities, whether they're in movie or music, businessmen, and wealthy individuals. Now, you're not seeing how it's affecting, the middle class, the poor, the lower upper class. Okay. Now, tax havens. Individuals and entities may open an offshore account for any number of reasons in which they're legal and ethically questionable. A Canadian lawyer based in Dubai might wish to avoid falling under the Islamic inheritance jurisprudence, which is a topic prominently detailed with Quran and the Maran and branch of the Islamic law technically known if an owner dies. So this is where Du Bois is connected to the Islamic stuff there. So think about that with the Middle Eastern wars that we had, and think about connecting the dots to that. But at the same time, think about the connections of how we started the Al-Qaeda, whatever, and the arms deals with the politicians here, which are Democrats, which is what? The Clinton, Mr. O, a few other ones and all that. Connect them dots. Also, they have businesses in some countries that may wish to hold some of their funds in dollars, said a Brazilian lawyer, but estate planning is another example of legal tax avoidance. Now, of course, that you have to do that foreign, not here. So when you hear about the Chinese and other countries buying up our land, it's because they're using U.S. soil as tax havens, tax shelters, okay, to avoid to pay taxes in their own countries. So if you get Chinese coming in here buying up the farmland and they're using it for what? A tax haven, then they're actually ripping off their own country from taxes by hiding that money into foreign soil that country is not getting. So when you see the stock market fluxing all of a sudden, going down in China or the Asian markets of the stock markets, that's what's going on, right? Part of it. But here's the other thing. It says here that Shell owner, 3 holding companies set up by the Shell owner, now owns his own property, turned and held by trust and set up for his children and grandchildren. See how he's doing that? Okay. That without the trust, his estate would have to be paying transfer taxes both to the government and possibly been forced to sell property to liquidate his assets to pay them. See? Now, here's an example of Chinese. Chinese companies may incorporate offshore orders to raise foreign capital. You hear that? Normally against the law in China. See? So right there, let me identify that. Hang on. Chinese, there. So that's why the Chinese, way back there during Pearl Harbor time, bought a lot of Hawaii. Okay? Same thing with right now. Chinese are coming in and they're buying up land and businesses. Why? Because it's offshore from their country in order to raise foreign capital, which is normally against China law. That's the second reason. Okay. Now, they're saying that, however, these dealings may happen. It says prosecuted under international law. Well, yeah, okay. I'm going to take that with a grain of salt and throw that one over my shoulder. Because if international law is anything like U.S. law right now, with everything that we're seeing, now let me get to the other part here. It's saying here that tax havens are the core of the global system that allows corporations and wealthy individuals to avoid paying their fair share in taxes. Right here. Whoop, if I can get it. There we go. And it deprives the governments, rich and poor, the resources that they need to provide vital public services and tackling raising inequality. So every country, think about every country in the world, okay? You got your poor classification of citizens and your middle class and your rich or whatever, right? And you're hearing that maybe their infrastructure, like in the US, is going down and it needs repair, like roads, buildings, water, our electrical grid, etc., right? Okay. So what is happening is, since the rich is not paying their or the right amount of tax or any tax at all, they're ripping off not only the US, but they're ripping off every country in the globe. And they're basically, I'd say, rent-free in that country. Okay? Because they're not paying their dues like everybody else. When that happens, programs to feed the poor, roads to be repaired, bridges to be fixed, railroad tracks to be fixed, water utilities and other utilities need to be repaired. There's no money there. Because why? They didn't do their taxes. They didn't pay any taxes. The funds aren't there. Okay? Now, according to the International Monetary Fund, IMF, researchers estimate in 2015 a profit shifting of a multi-international companies cost developing companies around $213 billion a year. That's just from 2015. Now, do your math. From 2015 to 2021, right? That's 11 years. 11 times 213 billion. That's without increase, just staying at that number. It says it's almost 2% of the national income. It says the shell companies play an important role in large-scale money laundering activities, and they're meant to transfer bribery money, which is called the Tax Justice Network. Have you ever heard of that? Tax Justice Network? They concluded in 2012 and that designated commercial tax abuse schemes and turning a blind eye to suspicious transactions have become an inherited part of the World Bank and accounts. Now, if you're not aware of somebody wiring something, or you have no way to get information on it because, of course, it's in their account name and you don't have no way to do it, then it's not your fault. It's the other person's fault, right? Yeah. All right. Now, the other thing here is money laundering effects. The Shell company also invested in real estate just as much as the Chinese. They invested in Europe. They invested in North America, London, Miami, New York, Paris, Vancouver, San Francisco. All have been affected. So let's look at this one right here, San Francisco. Think about that and connect the dots with San Francisco for all the stuff that's been going on down there. Okay. Also, practice the parking assets of luxury real estate has been frequently cited and fuel skyrocketing house prices in Miami. So, who's creating our housing crisis? The elite, the shell company, the few other people that have the billions and millions. Okay. It says where Miami Association Realtors said that the cash sales account is 90% of new home sales in 2015. But there's a huge amount of dirty money flowing from Miami that discussed the investment. According to former Congressman Jerry Bloom in Miami, 76 50% condo owners paid cash, a practical considered of a red flag money operation. See, so when they have it on the books that so and so paid cash for anything in transaction of any kind of item, no matter if it's real estate or anything else, that is an automatic red flag for money laundering. Okay. A lot to think about here. Now, it says here real estate in London, where prices were 50% in 2007 to 2016, was purchased overseas investors. Now, remember, I told you every country has overseas investors buying up companies, buying up land, etc. Okay. This is a global problem. Okay. So the heads of Britain National Crime Agency said in 2015 London's property market has been screwed with by money laundering or laundered money. And it says prices being artificially driven up, overseas criminals who want to sequester their assets here in the UK. 3/4 of Londoners under 35 can't even afford to buy a home. So do you see what they're doing? Okay, they're buying up homes, businesses, corporations, land, jacking the rate up so that the people that are living in that country cannot afford it. Of any of it. And this is not just one country. This is all countries. Now, there's other people like China's Citibank Corp. They filed suit against a Chinese citizen who borrowed $50 million in their Chinese money there for lumber business in China. Now, think about that right now. Just that's give you perspective, and think about the prices right now in the United States that we're paying for lumber that they're supposedly blaming on the COVID situation because they have the lack of labor. Right? Now, the damage from our lumber that we're paying these high prices are due to the overseas situation. Okay? The corruption of it, the scandal of it, the whole crime of it. You know what I'm saying? But let me tell you that not just individuals are to fault, but also banks. Now think about all the G summits. We've got one coming up right now, right? We got a G summit coming up. Well, this one here was an issue that was raised at the G20 summit with the ambassador of the European Union to India, with the cooperation of exchange tax information between tax authorities. So this was the situation for the Panama Papers, where Venezuela and Lebanon may find themselves on a list of uncooperative tax havens. So when you hear about a country that is not cooperating with tax information exchange and tax haven situations, then they are definitely should be red flagged in the international group is hostile. Okay, that's just my opinion. So the Organization of Economic Operations and Development that was reactivated in 2016 at the G20 nation situation, they participated in the investigation with 3 countries that were the guidelines of international banking cooperation. Okay. And the OECD and the G20 and the European Union listed countries that were inadequate for more than one area. And such areas, and I want you to remember this and write this down on your paper, okay? These countries were red flagged. Panama, Venezuela, Lebanon, went on the blacklist. They actually went on a blacklist. And remember a while back, I was telling you about here in the state of Florida how lawyers back in the 80s, I investigated that I found a blacklist on lawyers in Florida. Why? Because that corruption was connected to all this. Okay. Which I can't get a hold of that blacklist right now for me to, say anything or, find the proof yet. Because I'm still digging. I can't find it yet, but we'll get there maybe. I don't know. I should have kept it back then, but I didn't. But anyway, it says countries that meet only one criteria go on a gray list. So these people are considered in the gray area, which to me, even if you're going to money launder, I wouldn't even trust these either, I don't know. But I wouldn't even do business. I don't do stuff. I'm on the up and up. But anyway, it says this is the gray list of countries. So write this down. You got your black list, which is Panama, Ventura, and Lebanon. Okay, that's your black list. Your gray list is Antigua, Barbuda, Bahrain, Bahrain, Dominica, Liberia, Nauru, Samoa, and Tobago, and the United Arab Entities. Okay, let me emphasize all that a minute here. Give me a minute. Whoops. Now, I want you to look at, what I want you to look at is United Arab. Think about that with the United Arab situation because why do they have so much money? And why do they have a lot of gold, right? Think about that and all the government contracting exchanges and deals and trade situations, okay? When I looked at a lot of this stuff, it looked like the United Arab entities were basically almost like their gray area central bank for all these other countries in the gray area. Kind of put it in layman's terms, right along with the black area. Okay. And it's interesting to see the pyramid level of information when it comes to corruption and the money ties in reverse or in forward or sideways, where it connects and where they are in the pyramid area of this, right? So, yeah, you connect the dots, right? You connect the dots. You do some of your own stuff there and check out stuff. Let's see what else here I can show you. Now, another thing here is they had someone, and just to show a connection and connecting a dot to kind of like maybe the election stuff, okay? They had a data security situation, okay? That on April 1st, 2016, the Shell company owner had sustained an email hack, okay? And they said the data experts noted that not too many have been encrypted on its emails. So he did regular emailing system, right? Also, the 3-year-old version of DePerl, which is known for several vulnerabilities, okay? And a Tech Republic on the Apache 2.2 on March 6th got worse, and then Orc forked the Apache. So if you are a programmer dealing with computer stuff out there, you know what some of these programs are. So they were finding, evidently, to me, it sounds to me, since I'm a programmer in my background, that they actually found holes in the program, and that's how they got in. Okay. Also, some parts of WordPress was out of date. So think about that when you have software on your computer. Is your stuff outdated? People can get into it. If you don't have nothing to hide, fine, let them see your butt, you know. If you do, then you better get it updated, you know. Also, they were doing with gray hat hacking on April 12th on the content of management systems. Let's see, what else? Secured by an SQL injection, well-known database attack called Vector, I guess. And then also remote access of Trojans like rats. And I know there's that on there too, because this is a government thing. I've already detected in mine, and I know very well that the government's hearing everything I'm saying, and I don't really care because the truth is the truth. And, you know, we just need transparency on everything, you know. So I'm not doing nothing wrong. I'm just, you know, repeating what it is, you know what I'm saying? Um, but yeah, everybody, I don't know if you know this or not, but everybody on their smart devices have probably Trojans, rats they call them. Sometimes you can find it if you know how to deal with that and how to find it. But government's always listening, okay? And it can be just in little remote access programs like that. It can be by otherwise, you know, other things. And I've gone through that in other past programs. Anyway, there's a lot of evidently a lot of vulnerabilities that actually got hacked into in the shell company situation that got all this information out, I guess. Um, but anyway, yeah. So let's go to the more important part of it. Hope you guys are sharing the actual really good, juicy stuff. Okay, we're going to go to that next. Is this area here. And we'll give you a link on it as well. Give me that here. All right. Now, here's the thing. Okay. You know, you heard about Silicon Valley censoring everybody, and then the Florida governor says, "Oh, you can't be doing that. You know, protect the citizen." Why? Because they don't want to allow this information getting out. But guess what? How do you get it out? Sorry, I'm in the state of Florida. You have to go out, you know, according to the governor's order. Go to explain a little bit more about that Panama paper, because the reason why I'm going through both these kind of papers is because they go hand in hand. They're a different timeline, but they go hand in hand. Now, it says it's a giant leak for more than 11 million financial and legal records exposing the system that enables crime, corruption, wrongdoing, and hidden by security offshore companies. Okay? Yeah, we don't want to do that right now. Thank you. Anyway, this has been an ongoing problem. It's lasted for quite a while, more than 10 years. Okay? If you go into that link, it will give you, even currently right now, with new stuff coming out, even on the Panama Papers, as they're still investigating it. And the reason why they're still investigating it is because this is the eye of the problem, of all our problems here in Washington, D.C. with the Democrats, for one. And I'm not saying that it's all the Democrats' problem, but it's also a little bit with all the politicians' problems, okay? And why does Pelosi have 5 houses? It's because of this, okay? You know, you've got to kind of, here's the thing, people, whether you want to do it or not, some citizens don't want to even mess with it, but you've got to take on that responsibility before you take that next vote, okay? Before you go to the next voting situation, whether it's in 2022, 2024, whatever, this is the kind of stuff you have to know ahead of time before you get into the next voting box to make your mark. To vote for the one with the least corruption. That should be every American's goal. I don't care what side, if you're a Republican, a Democrat, an Independent, Green Party, whatever the hell you might be, okay? This should be your number one priority, is to vote for the least corrupt person that can do the job. Right? And since many of you guys know that United States is a corporation, some of you are like, what? No, it's not. Yeah, it is. okay, then you need a business person, not a politician that talks on both sides of their mouth and out their ass. Anyway, the link I gave you will give you more information just on this. I highly suggest you guys, this will back up a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about, okay? It's all there, okay, with my opinion, okay? Now, to the juice, let me get to that one here next. Let's get that one right. Hang on. I think we did that one. Did we do that one? Yeah, we did that one. Okay, hang on. All right, bear with me. All right. Okay. All right, next one we're going to talk about is the Paradise Papers. This is the one right now that they're currently working on with everyone involved, and I mean everyone. This is what's going to be draining the swamp. This here is the big enchilada. This is the eye of the storm. Even though it's dated back, it's still connected to the Panama Papers and this, but also of what's going on even currently. Okay, and I'll show you a little bit about that. Now, the next one we're talking about is the Paradise Papers. Okay, and the same thing they do with an international consortium of investigative journalists. They come out and talk about all this stuff, right, and find all the proof, right, and the documents that from a legal firm from Appleby, corporate provider of Vestaria, and this one here, that registered 19 tax jurisdictions that contained over 120,000 people and companies. So this is the more recent one. This is like maybe 10 to 15 years after the Panama Papers. So there's still at least 120,000 people and companies throughout the world that's still doing the same shit. Okay. Here is some of them. AIG, Prince Charles, Elizabeth II. So hey, all you guys in England, yeah, she's part of it. The President of Colombia. Okay. Also, U.S. Secretary of Commerce, which is that guy there. Okay. And he is a Republican, guys. He is a Republican. So let me get down to it. Now, this started in October 20th, 2017. So this is more current. This is not the 70s. Okay. So when they looked at this, they did information not only through Reddit, but through the International Investigative Journalist situation. Some of its data has been stolen by cyber attacks. So think about the cyber attacks happening right now. We've had cyber attack and a hack with a fuel pipeline. We've had it with meat chain. We've got high prices with lumber. It's going on still right now currently. Okay. So Appleby was basically a front man, as I can see it. And it says that they're saying, oh, yeah, there wasn't no leak or any serious criminal act when there was an actual illegal computer hack, right? And it says here, the documents were acquired by German newspaper. Okay, you guys can check that out. And which also obtained the Panama Papers in 2016, according to the BBC. The name Paradise Papers reflects the ideological profile of many offshore jurisdictions that were working with unveiling the so-called tax havens and tax paradises. See? So these papers, both of them, were tax haven and tax paradise kind of write-off situations where they didn't have to pay taxes. So when you're investing in the real estate, you're investing in 5 houses like Pelosi, guess what? Reverse her money trail, guys. You'll see it. You'll see the tax havens and the write-offs and the shit. Okay? I guarantee it. So anyway, other companies, according to the papers, that were found as part of this whole situation of tax havens and etc., okay, is Allergan, manufacturer of Botox, Alliance, Apple Incorporated, so your Apple computer, your Apple phone, all that stuff, okay? That's how they're billionaires. Facebook, just like I said, Zuckerman, okay? Part of that tax haven, tax shelter, etc. Global Vantage, McDonald's, Nike Inc. Here. You guys want to see the, I don't know if I have logos. Let me see if they have Botox. Okay, there's some of them right there, okay? Apple, Facebook, Global Vantage, McDonald's, Nike, Simmons. Now, Simmons, for you guys that don't know what Simmons is, I believe they're connected also. They are a industrial manufacturing company, but there's also, if you look under Simmons, the actual name, there is also real estate investing kind of things for like malls and stuff like that too, I believe. Walt Disney. Okay. These are all the companies that are basically not paying taxes because they're hiding in tax havens. Oh, here you go. There's another one, Twitter. Remember that little ride that you need, Uber? They're the same thing. Walmart, all your grocery shopping at. Yahoo, getting your mail from, I guess. Okay. Are amongst the corporations of owning offshore companies. And according to the Express Tribune, Apple, Nike, Facebook avoid billions of dollars in taxes using offshore companies. So here you go, Santas and Republicans and people that want to stop this censoring of Silicon Valley. You turn off the faucet to their assets. And how you do that is you reverse the money trail on all these groups right here. And let me define them. Okay. You reverse the trail on these groups. I don't know why that's doing that again. But sometimes when you check out the situation of that and reverse the money trails, just like I've been telling you guys to do for a year and a half or longer, really, you'll find it. And there is no one at the highest level that can hide from this. At the highest level. And I mean, you can go above these corporations to the higher levels. Okay? No one can hide from this. Okay? So, Mr. T-Man out there, if you're listening to me, or Santas, or GOP, the Republicans, whoever, okay? This is how you expose the problem. You expose them for not paying taxes on their tax havens, and you find their tax havens of where they're not spending or why they're not spending, or why they're not paying taxes. And then you basically can do a couple things. You can, each state, now listen to this, okay? This is what gets really interesting. Each state, just like what Sanchez did with censorship, you can do the same thing with auditing any of these companies with their finances. You do an audit finance. Then you reverse that money trail and find out where they have any offshore land, businesses, real estate, or otherwise. And you find out how much the worth of that is. Then you can go and seize and freeze those assets from those places, even if they're overseas. Now, this is how we can get back at them, or whatever you want to do. I don't know, but just an idea. But every governor in the state of the U.S. can basically do the same thing within their state to seize the assets until they pay taxes. Okay? IRS can do that too. Okay? So if you have a state tax, you can freeze it for that. If you have a local tax, you can do it for that, right? Okay? And then you need to push a law in the United States, for all you GOP and Republicans listening to me. You push a law through, and you push a law to protect the citizens against tax evasion, meaning offshore investing, electronic transfers of any sort. Okay? Offshore investing with physical money or electronic money or otherwise. Okay? And then you seize the overseas properties, whatever they own. And then you put it on the open market in the United States, okay, and let the normal basic little citizen have a hand at it, or basically sell it, which would be better yet, is selling those assets, those physical assets of a house, farm, business, whatever, and bring in the money amount back into the United States, because that is part of our Constitution, of our liberty, our freedom and our liberty and prosper situation according to our Constitution. So all those companies that are owned over there in California, Silicon Valley, just to give you an example, okay, the GOP and Republicans can basically go after these assets of their companies and freeze them until you get a hold of the assets overseas, and until they pay up for back taxes and current taxes. And I know this is going to scare probably a lot of politicians, but you better look in your own backyard for the same thing. This is how we're going to kill switch our corruption that is currently happening in DC. Now, here, give you an example more on the Panama Papers, on just Apple here, for example. Okay. Intangible property, exposing around the time of Apple Inc. They reorganized into 3 Irish subsidiaries. The company in 2015 gross domestic product showing 26% increase, closing over $270 billion in intangible assets. Okay. And suddenly appeared in Ireland as the year began. Now, this is not putting out of the woods, the Republicans. There's people in the Republicans that have a direct link with Ireland. And I'm not going to name names, but I think you know who I'm talking about. Okay. More than the entire value of the residential property in Ireland. This may indicate that Apple took advantage of the tax incentives known as capital allowances. Okay, so if we know where we're having our tax mistakes to the elite, all you GOP Republicans and stuff, this is where we fix the problem. So if we're having capital allowances for the elite, then you take that away. That's cutting off their money. Okay? And I'm not saying cut it completely off, but you need to lower it to only, a minimal amount if you're going to do it. And then they still got to pay taxes on it. And it says, which gave the Irish companies generous tax breaks for buying intangible property, the essential intellectual property like patents. In other words, Apple, some suggest transferring them to subsidiary locations for Ireland for tax incentives, and didn't pay any taxes on the transitions in Bermuda either. So you see what I'm saying? They're hopping from one tax haven to another tax haven, sliding and laundering their money as they go. On the value of declaring the property when they sold it to themselves. See? So that's how they're making more money. They're selling it, but they're selling it to themselves. Right? Interesting, right? Now, in 2013, U.S. Senate investigation featured the testimony of Tim Cook. In Ireland announced that henceforth Irish company that would declare tax residency somewhere in the world. Apple has been paying lower rate of corporate taxes in Ireland as a so-called sweetheart deal, attract the attention of EU regulators, and international were doing the same thing as the tax breaks, even in Ireland, came to schedule at the end. Apple's law firm researched Ireland's tax havens, asking Appleby officials in numerous jurisdictions to confirm that Irish company can conduct management activities without subject of any taxation in your jurisdiction. The two subsidiaries moved to Jersey and took intellectual property, and the third received tax breaks in Ireland, buying Apple IP in another subsidiary. So you see how they're shifting things around a little bit? And it's getting better. There's more to it here. So give me a minute. Let me find everything. Now, Jersey's Financial Services Commissioner on 7th of November in 2017 confirmed all this by the media, and the funds relating to the entities and so on and so forth, including in Ireland. And then let's see what else here. They're just giving me basically lists of different people and companies, like let's see, DST Global. This is a Kremlin law firm bank. It was founded by a Russian billionaire. Let's see, and which was used to buy a large share in Twitter. Okay, so the Russians are in Twitter on investment-wise. Okay. Let's see what else here. And DST Global was also involved with 27 million shares in Facebook too. That was worth $1 billion. Now, Ivanka, and founder of the Synergy Group. Let's see, they have done stuff through Bermuda, Panama, and Cyprus. Let's see. And they purchased Mac Air Jets, which is Argentina. So think about the connections, guys, right? Connecting the dots. And then let's look at this one here. A mining company, Glencore, Anglo-Swiss multinational trading mining company, $45 million to an Israeli billionaire. And the officials of the Democratic Republic of Congo. I mean, there's a lot here. Here's Nike. Nike transferred ownership to a Swoosh trademark. Remember Swoosh washes? Okay, Swoosh. Okay. And it says here, let's see, their headquarters out of Netherlands, and then they did a tax-free shelter basically out of Bermuda, so they can avoid paying taxes. And 2010 through 2012, where they made a lot of money from not paying taxes, with about almost close to $4 billion. Here's other things here. Dutch law treats income as by CB as earned the principals owed to taxes in Netherlands. They do not reside there. One in $6 of foreign profit earned in U.S. multinational was earned, at least on paper, through Dutch CB subsidiary companies with similar structures, including Tulsa Inc., NetApp, and Uber. See, so even those companies there have tax havens through Bermuda, but also using a Dutch law system and Netherlands area. Also, let's see. Appleby managed 17 offshore companies. So it sounds to me they need to audit Appleby because, or Appleby, not be by, Appleby, I'm corrected. With their different companies that they handle. They manage many different companies. So this was Operation Car Wash, which was investigation by police in Brazil with the judge down there, Sergio, and all that. So that was also involved with, their money haven, whatever, laundering crap of whatever. Poker Stars. Now, here's the thing. You guys saying, well, there's not any casinos that, are, can you show me proof of casino linkage? Yeah, right here, Poker Star. That's online. You can actually look at that one. I've actually did an investigation on that one about 6 months ago, and I found the connections to politicians with Poker Stars on that one. But it says various banks in Isles of Man, using Conister Bank, owned by Aaron Banks. Let's see, what else? Mark Schneider, father. Let's see, Group Stars, known as Amelia, and Poker Stars, which is pursuit of just money laundering. So they were basically using Poker Stars as a money laundering operation. And that's another way of doing their tax haven where they didn't pay taxes again. And then, let's see, Algeria, the Saudi Asaf. He did connections in Cayman Islands. Angola, with the opposite party, UNITA, with Jean-Claude Bessel de Morals, I guess, which was a long-term president, I guess, over there. So there was a tax situation there. Uganda, Kenya, Libya, pretty much almost everything in Africa, almost. Then you got the Asia area, like Hong Kong, like Image Board 8chan. Remember those 8chan? What's that? What's 8chan? You guys remember 8chan? Think about that. India, Indonesia, Japan, Kazakhstan, Pakistan, Europe, Australia, France, Greece, Ireland. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Okay, United Kingdom. Somebody says, I want to see something about England. Okay, here you go. The paper showed as Dutch Lancaster, private real estate of Queen Elizabeth II with offshore century. The Cayman Islands and Bermuda was her little haven, and probably still is to this day. You got to remember, for people traveling, to visit the Virgin Islands, which I have been there, a few of them. Some of them are owned, or they're British influence. They're coming from the crown, they're territory of it, So yeah. But it says here, let's see. Her first investment was roughly a Quench retailing off-license rent to own retailers like Bright House, I guess. It was a licensed retail chain, around 1,300 shops with several retail brands, and yeah. And there give you some brands of some of the stuff, but you guys can look it up on the link I gave you, rotating around your screen. Let's see what else here. Also, paper show in 2007, Duchy Cornwall, possession of Prince Charles investment of over $100,000 in sustainable forestry management, but Bermuda-based carbon credits trading company run by Hugh van Kooisdam. So basically, if you want to know what carbon credits are, remember this global warming crap that they're trying to shove down your neck and pass laws on, that they're currently doing right now with the Democrats, okay? Carbon credit. There you go. That's your tax haven. So if you hear the terminology of greenhouse gases or carbon credits, okay, this is part of that tax haven situation, okay? So carbon credit is a genetic term for certificate permitting representing the right to emit tone carbon dioxide equivalent of greenhouse gases. Remember, we have global warming, greenhouse gases. No, that's excuse and their front for hiding their paying their taxes. This is a tax haven. Okay, so our greenhouse gases, our green bills of any sort, are tax havens. Okay, this includes emissions trading, the markets on it, carbon footprint, carbon reduction, carbon offset, carbon dioxide, different carbon projects, cleaning development mechanism, European Union of carbon credits, green recovery. Even here's the thing, COVID pandemic is listed in here. So, like I told you, the reversing money trail, there's shit guaranteed to come out. And this is the proof about the COVID. The CV. Okay? This is all part of the tax havens under the crown, guys, of carbon credit. Now, who in the politicians just recently went over to go talk with the Queen? Mr. B, right? So think about that. Connect the dots. Also, they're covering everything from Kyoto Protocols, which was a treaty in 92 for National Framework Convention on Climate Changes. The states a party reduction of greenhouse gases based on scientific consensus and global warming occurrences, right? And then also they get credits for the rainforest. These are all tax havens, guys. Okay? Also, James Meyer, in 2007, president of the International Financial Action Task Force on Money Laundering, said that his 236 million trust revealed papers had been established for years before a grandmother with funds had not been earned in the UK, therefore was not subject to tax there. right? And he said first disclosed the trust when he joined the Treasury in 2002. So when I tell you the politicians are involved, they're even involved in different branches of our government, including the Treasury, which he was a Commerce Secretary from 2010 to 2013. That's over there, though, in the Crown, I believe. Also, they have other things like the football club here in England. Okay, that's connected to a haven. The Bombard Challenge 605 private jet that Lewis Hampton registered there with. Let's see what else here. Let's see. Okay, that's that one. Now, Ukraine. Since Mr. B is always connected to the Ukraine, right? Here's where it gets interesting as well. The mayor with Russian and Greek citizenship is named part of the crime gang. So that was a crime gang situation confirmed as part of a tax haven situation. So remember connecting dots with Mr. B and his family and some of the Democrats. There you go. Okay. There you go. Also an Israeli with the core industries. Okay. And let's see. 120 documents regarding his relationship with Glencore. Now let's get to the good part, because it's going to connect some politicians for you. Maybe. I don't know. You got to do your homework. Hang on. I got to get something in my mouth again. Give me a minute. In Saudi Arabia, former deputy defense for Saudi was given ownership at least 8 companies in Bermuda from 1989 to 2014, including owning yachts and airplanes. So think about even the yachts being Bermuda and the special E Island, okay? But also not only connecting that dot, but also the private flights down there in Bermuda to the States, to other islands, etc. Now, here's Canada's, that Justin Trudeau, the one that you're having problems with right now with COVID. Here you go. We're going to clean up his backyard a little bit and give you some transparency on it. According to the Paradise Papers, Jean Chrétien and Paul Martin. Here, I'll give you that guy and this guy and this guy. Okay. According to the papers, and with this guy involved, went through a Liberal Party fundraiser, crediting putting this man into office. Okay. And how they did it is moving millions of dollars offshore for a former Liberal Party senator, this guy here. I don't know if you can see that or not. The offshore maneuver may have avoid taxes in Canada and the U.S. and Israel, according to experts, revealing some 3,000 files and then some detailing the trust activity. So if you ever want to be a politician, shift the funds, right? Now, Costa Rica, Mexico. You know about Costa Rica, right? So we're going to skip that one, but Mexico is important because of what's going on with south border situation. According to the files in the trade union and politicians of this guy right here, which was a leader and a politician, he had investments of 15.5 million with the politicians' connection to this guy here as Secretary of Finance, this guy here as a lawyer and attorney general for Mexico, and officials from here. Now, that is a petroleum company in Mexico. And it says high-profile Mexicans in the file of including billionaire Carlos Slim, which we know about him, right? And this guy here, remember I told you how corrupt the church system is? Well, this one is the Catholic priest here, okay? Was known for the great fundraiser of modern Roman Catholic Church. And Ricardo, this guy here, an interview with the Attorney General for Mexico, National and Security, or Secretary, denied knowledge of the company, which the vice president, which stated his brother it's the president. So again, this company here, the oil company in Mexico, is kind of set up the same way like Shell Company, where they have politicians and millionaires sliding funds into a petroleum company of their particular company or country and having a bunch of illegal stuff happening within that company. Okay. Now, here comes a big enchilada. You better be make a new page for this one and taking your notes. United States. So this guy from this department, okay, holds stakes with businesses and deals with Russian person this and this, who are subject to U.S. sanctions, okay, as well as Russian this and former son-in-law of this guy here, reports working on the Paradise Papers to contract Ross concerning his stakes in Navigator Holdings that they denied to tie with, okay, which basically became public, shorted the stock, apparently made profits after the stock price dropped 4% after the story appeared. It says other members of the T administration, okay, that appeared in documents including United States Secretary, this person here, and former economics council person here, offshore ties of more than a dozen T advisors and cabinet members and donors to pair leak of data. So I guess these guys were helping the T-man leak a lot of this information, okay, for this United States part, I guess. It says, while Tillerson, while CEO of Exxon Yemen, was directed company of joint ventures agreement with the Yemeni state-owned company, he sued Yemen, ending the joint venture, turning over operations to Yemeni company, and lost. He was still a company director in an offshore company, which was still active as recent as 2015. So still think about timeline, guys. Documents also revealed that between 2009 and 2011, Russian state organization ties with Putin pursued large investments with Facebook and Twitter. Okay, documents revealed. I'm going to repeat that. Okay, right here. Documents also revealed that between 2009 and 2011, Russian state organizations with ties to Putin pursued large investments in Facebook and Twitter. Okay, so we have a Russian connection to our censored companies of Twitter and Facebook. And it's not T-Man's fault or anybody else. That's just what it is, right? It says Russian American entrepreneur, this guy here, who befriended the Facebook founder Zuck, was and business associate. This guy, ooh, that's very interesting. Which was the T-Man's son-in-law. Okay, he befriended him. So here's the thing. Okay, here's where the problem of censorship happened. Okay, Yuri befriended T-Man's son-in-law. So if he befriended him, that's where the censorship was going to happen, because it was a retaliation action from Yuri, right? Now, American singer Madonna and co-founder Paul Allen and billionaire Soros, founder of Open Society Foundation, which you guys need to investigate at your own situation. I've already done past shows on it. But Open Society Foundation and Open Society Institute, okay, are grant-making networks founded by business magnate Soros, and he financially supported civil society groups around the world, okay? So there's your another connection to the global corruption, okay? Proof right here. And former NATO Supreme Commander, okay, this guy here, was named in the papers. Okay. It says here that this guy here and resort owner, this guy here, and hedge fund manager this, and hedge fund manager that, and other equity investors like this guy, and this guy, and this guy. And I go back. It flipped. I automatically do that. I don't know why, it just happens. Supposedly were donors funneling $60 million to the T-Man's, to an organization, I guess, to support T-Man's campaign and transition. So, you know, it's not just Democrats, it's also Republicans, it's independents, it's Green Party, it's everybody that's affecting, right? But it says prominent Democratic donors also appeared in the law firm files, and it says questions arise about the whole Democratic Party, including Penny, okay, and this person here, she was nominated by Mr. O for Secretary of Commerce and was confirmed in Senate. So she worked under Mr. O, okay? She pled that more diverse of 200 firms confirmed that Mr. O, Commerce of Secretary in 2013, and show record of transferring assets to a company owned by her children's trust to share the same address as her office. And then here's why the E-Island comes into effect. Okay? Was also listed in the Paradise Papers. And he was a chairman from 2000 2007 with a registered Romanian company called Liquid Fund Ltd. And partially owned in Bear Stearns, which was a global investment bank out of New York. So why do you think they got rid of him? He had the global connections. Now, I have been showing you, but you have as well, that's rotating on the bottom of your screen, the global connections. And it says here, this person here and his colleagues estimate 63% of foreign profits are made with American multinational corporations are stored in subsidiaries of offshore accounts. That's over 50% of our profit in the United States, which is depriving our country, the United States country, out of $70 billion of tax revenue every year. So you do the math. Ever since we've had a budget and we have that big debt clock on the wall, okay, and figuring out $70 billion a year, why that tax clock on the wall of debt is so high. Because all these million and billionaires never paid their taxes for over 20 some years that has been grandfathered and domino effect within their families over generations. And if they would correct the tax code immediately where they pay taxes, you can see that debt clock definitely coming down. Think about it. So, where am I at here? There's more to it. Give me a minute. The next one. And let me check into a comment really as we continue into the heavy stuff here. All right, I'm going to answer Tim's question, and I'll continue away with it. No, that's where you and me and other people out there hearing the show has to bring it in light. We have to expose. We're at the next phase of corruption where the little people have to expose their corruption now. Because their corruption is the one that gives a domino effect to the politicians. We also now have enough to, if the little people wanted to, not only to expose it, but they could probably on it. Okay? Which would mean a blackmail situation on the whole scenario of all these people. If they wanted to, I'm just saying. What if? If not, the exposure of it, and then, like I say, that's where you and me and other people out there that want to do something about it, you go to your politicians and get a law started, and you get the signatures in place and the ratification of fixing and correcting the problem and proposing a new bill to be passed. Okay? That's how we talk and getting a bill with signatures on it voted on. And if it fails, you do it again and reword it and do it until it gets passed. All right, let's continue to the next one. I think I gave you Okay. So here is the part on Paradise Papers. I gave you the site on the bottom for your own investigative kind of situation. Minus hence the advertising crap. But again, this gives everything. And don't focus on the T-Man. It's not 100% on him. Okay? It's not about him and the election. It's not about that. This root of the evil, the eye of the evil of it, is stemming from the other ends. Okay? That's where the focus needs to be focused at. You focus at our other leaders in the world. You focus at the responsibilities of the lack of responsibilities on the politician. You look at lack of responsibilities on our judicial system, our commissioners, etc., and so on. And this goes for every country in the world. Right? But anyway, you got the link to that. Right there is the answer. Okay? Exposure, exposure, exposure. Talking, talking, talking. And then formulate a bill to pass to protect the common citizen against this situation and scenario. Get the signatures needed. If it goes into the Senate or the House of your state or the nation and it fails, you do it again. You keep on trying and trying and trying. Okay? That's where we get it through. Let me go. And now this is, I believe, is this the next one? Let's see here. Hang on. Yeah. Okay. This next one actually explains the so you got the link on the bottom, okay? And you guys remember on your news, you probably saw this global task force arresting all these drug people, bringing in millions of dollars, but also confiscating millions of pounds of drugs. Here's where I'm throwing caution when on that. Yeah, it looks like they did a good deed, but think about the money. Where's the money going to go from here? Is it going to offset our debt? Probably not. Is it going to pay for infrastructure problems? Probably not. Where is it going to go? Is it going to go to a bank? Is it going to be money laundered in the islands, or someplace? And at the same token, think about this. What's going to happen with all the drugs that they seized in every country? Do they have a little, like Wells Fargo Bank that stores all this shit until, they have to do another government contracting job and then they bargain with it? Or do they burn it all up and get rid of it? See, drugs is worth its weight in gold. And cash is king, right? So, in order for you to see and read between the lines, maybe they're going to utilize all that. For what bigger thing yet is to be found. I haven't gotten that far yet, but maybe you can. But the global banks defy U.S. crackdown by serving ostrich criminals and terrorists. This is the FinCEN files. FinCEN files show trillions in tainted dollars flowing freely through major banks, swamping through broken enforcement systems. Remember I told you how the Vatican has its own bank, right? And there's other problems with other banks. Remember the big housing boom, and then it went down, and then there was a problem with the stock market. Remember with certain stocks that went belly up and all that, and then there was they call it where they helped them, Anyway, the secret U.S. government documents reveal J.P. Morgan Chase, HSBC, and other big banks have defied money laundering crackdown by moving staggering sums of illicit cash for shadowy characters and criminal networks that have spread chaos and undermined democracy around the world. Okay? Now think about that. Are you banking at JP Morgan Chase? Are you banking at HSBC? What bank are you, doing your business with? First of all, you can boycott them. That would help, right? And are they using your money to do their illegal actions and their shadowy character criminal network stuff? Probably. Yeah, they're using your money for that. So you might be what? Part of the situation too. But records show that 5 global banks like JP Morgan, HSBC, Standard Chartered Bank, Deutsche Bank, Bank of New York Mellon, remember, we got a little New York situation there. Remember that? Connections with what happened with CV and the governor there. Think about that. Kept profiting from powerful, dangerous players even after U.S. authorities find themselves financially instituted for earlier failures of a stem flow of dirty money. So they're using these banks as part of their money laundering. Okay? It says U.S. agencies responsible for law or enforcing money laundering laws rarely prosecuted mega banks for breaking the law. See? So here's another law that we need to think about. Protecting our banks from our citizens and our citizens from the banks, right? So why are they all of a sudden, they can't get in trouble with the law? What makes a bank above the law? That's my question to the politicians, the GOP, the Republicans, the whoever's. Okay? What bank is above the law? Here's my thing. Here's my answer. Audit their ass. Audit all their cash situations and connect all their cash situations to where they're going and reverse that money trail. It says in some cases, banks were kept moving these funds. Warned them about facing criminal prosecution, but didn't stop their business with the mobsters, fraudsters, and corrupt regime. Well, we know about all that. We've had all that stuff start, in the 20s, right? Let's see here. Here's where it gets really interesting. It says the money moved money for people and companies tied to massive lootings for public funds in Malaysia, Venezuela, Ukraine, as the documents reveal. Right here is proof, the connection to the Biden family and a lot of the Democrats, because of the way they were funneling and rotating and money laundering their individual money situations with Malaysia, Venezuela, Ukraine, etc. And you got to remember, over a year ago, I reported from South Border News situations with Venezuela and their oil company. Remember that? That was part of the corruption. That's part of the global corruption ring. Look at the situation with Ukraine with the B family deal. Same thing. Same thing. Okay. Let's see. The bank moved more than $1 billion for the fugitive financier beside Malaysia. Let's see. So, in order, when Venezuela happened with this situation, they basically stole about over $2 million, or $1 billion plus another $2 million from the government. They could have helped the actual Venezuelan government and their citizens. And it says here, this is what gets really interesting. It says the Mago company that has been accused of cheating Venezuelan government, helping cause the electrical blackout and crippling large parts of the country. See, it wasn't right here. Okay, here's proof that it wasn't the what we call it, cartel or whatever it was down in that area. This was caused by the elite, the blackouts, the lack of energy, the lack of food and supplies and all that stuff, where people were starving. They didn't have any electricity. They didn't have any gas. They didn't have any of this stuff. This was caused by the Malaysia 1MDB scandal. This happened a year and a half ago. Do you see how they're hitting each country and sucking and hyphening the finances, whether it's in gold, whether it's in money or otherwise, from each country? Basically, it is a international criminal network that is stealing money from each global country in the world that could have been using their money for their infrastructure and on their citizens. Okay. Here's another thing. Remember when this guy here got in trouble? I don't know if they'll show a picture, but Paul Manafort, he shuttled $6.9 million in transactions 14 months after he resigned from the campaign. And he was involved with money laundering. And they were trying to blame this on the T-Man. T-Man had nothing to do about it. This was all Paul's fault. Okay? And Paul had the connection to pro-Russian political party, even in Ukraine. See? So Paul was part of the Russian situation and the Ukraine situation. So think about that. Think about Paul. Does he have a connection to the B family? Biden family? You know who I'm talking about. So here is an idea, roughly. I don't know why this is not getting out more. All right. Their clients. Okay. So, all right, let's go back to this. Maybe we'll show this. Okay. And we'll go to, now I know this goes to like every country in the world, but we'll try to go with, if they have it, let's go to this one here. And I'm just going to go with that one there. Okay. Because you got to look at his background. He was what, a lawyer or something, right? And he had connections. Okay. He was behind billions of dollars in suspected money, which prompt reports and suspicious activity that was flagged by banks and so on, right? This is just for the U.S., okay? Give me a minute. Let me get a drink. So let's look at, hold on, whoops, hang on. So here's your connections to who and what have connections with each other in different countries, the type of level of stuff that they were doing for clients. Okay. So here's JP Morgan Bank. Here's Nigeria with that bank. This one right here. Western Union. How many people use? Okay. Venezuela. Remember the situation with Venezuela? Okay. Russia with Bank of New York Mellon. Even Citibank. Look at that one. There we go. Here we go. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. I'll have to do a separate situation on that one. Isabel, whatever there on JP Morgan Chase Bank. Dotmo, Ukraine, Citibank. Again, that's the second Citibank. Now think about that with the E Island, but also think about that with Mr. B's son too. Okay. South Africa, Barclays, New York. Bulgaria, Bank of New New York Mellon. Let's see. Wells Fargo, Kazan. Interesting. Ukraine, JP Morgan Bank. Ukraine, Bank of New York Mellon. Venezuela, Bansko, USA. Malaysia, JP Morgan Chase. And again, United States, JP Morgan Chase. Brazil, Standard Chartered Bank, New York. Finland, Russia. Sanctions of Evil Society Generale. China, HSBC Bank USA. Now think about that real quick and kind of put that on your paper with the connections to our election and the voting machines and the whole situation going on right now. Okay. Iran, let's see, Bank of New York. And there you go. Okay. But anyway, I've given you the link on that. Let's see. Also, there's something you guys can go into, which is the FinCEN files, which gives you roughly 2,100 suspicious activity reports filed by different banks throughout the system. Also, the U.S. Department of Treasury Financial Crime Enforcement Network. You can go in there too. That gives you a shorthand on the FinCEN files for the intelligence unit of the global system of fighting money laundering. Let's see what else I can give you guys. It says here that in the ICIJ analysis found documents identifying more than $2 trillion in transactions between 1999 and 2017. $2 trillion in transactions. Think about that. And it was flagged by the financial institutions, okay, and other criminal activity, which included $514 billion at JP Morgan, $1.3 trillion at the Dutch Bank. Okay. So we need better watchdogs at all these banks, evidently. So, yeah. What else can I give you guys here? So here's your numbers, the top 10 banks reported by FinCEN files on the corruption. And here's the thing. If there's money, you can reverse that money trail. So it looks like Dutch Bank is our number one situation right there. The numbers. Then you got JP Morgan and so on and so forth. So here it is when they're talking about the dirty money swamps from the Burak or Brax, whatever. Offshore tax havens, again, they're bringing up, including British Virgin Islands, UK, US, Cyprus, Hong Kong, United Arab, Russia, and Switzerland. Switzerland's a bad one, too. I don't know how many of you guys know about that one. It says, according to the United Nations, the Office of Drug and Crime indicated that $2.4 trillion in illegal funds laundered each year. That's $2.4 trillion of illegal funds just from drugs and crime kind of thing in the world, I guess. And it gets better. Here's some interesting intel. Remember the bombing in Jerusalem? It says for some financial institutions, early morning of 2003, there was a, I guess, thing there with a BB. And let me get down to the juicy part because they're just going through the whole testimony of what happened. It says the person that here again. The blast supposedly killed 20 people, I guess, on that situation there, okay, in 2003. But it says here the Arab Bank moving funds to help bankroll the terrorist involvement with the bus bombing and attacks. So this is the proof when there's a terrorist attack, whether it's on the U.S. or any other country in the world, that a bank has bankrolled it, a major bank has bankrolled it to perform that activity. Like this one here was the Arab Bank, okay? So think about that in the past, how many T attacks we had, okay, with when and where, even the big one in New York, okay, or in Paris or wherever. What reverse the money trail to find out that they bankrolled them, right? Same thing with Boston with that marathon, right? It says right here the Arab Bank of liable for knowing support terrorism by transmitting money disguised as charitable donations for the benefit of Hamas, the Palestine militant group that the U.S. classified as T group organizations. Okay, that's in 2014. We're in 2021. The stuff's still going on. Still going on. But we got to find the source of the problem. This is it, right? This is what the web page looks like for those who are looking for a FinCEN file. Okay, that's lingering on the bottom of your stream. It's not to this site, though. This is to the actual article I'm reading right now. And this shows proof in the FinCEN files of where the money is going, what it is at funding. Okay, remember we were doing this investigation, like in the Democratic Party, of where they're funding and getting the money to support their branches of what they call it, grassroots organizations. It's kind of like that. Okay. So let's see what else I can give you here. Oh, I guess they're going into individual things. Okay. So here is FinCEN file data, roughly 18,053 transactions on FinCEN files shows example of potential suspicious money transactions that have suspicious money activity. It's via network, international, and local banks, so everything is covered on this. Let's see. So here is all your banks. I don't know. Yeah, it's quite. I can get more of that or not. Oops. But you can actually, the link I give you towards the middle part of that page, it gives you the list of companies, right? So let's go back up. Okay. And if you want to see that, this here, this will give you, I don't know, I'll give you this one. If I can give okay. And then okay, so I will have is the actual close. So this link that I've gotten on the bottom page is the actual FinCEN file area where you can look at a lot of information. And here's the thing, even though it gives you past information, there's a way to get what's going on currently through this as well. Okay. So again, there you are. Okay. So yeah, it is what can I say, you know? Now, let me get to the other part. Here's the interesting part here for Ukraine. Check that out on that page. And then also here, which is kind of interesting, give you in the FinCEN file, they'll give you showing Norvi Rex with payments and stuff like that and all this stuff. Supposedly saying they spent $200,000 on lingerie in the Virgin Islands and $34,000 for keyboard stickers and all this stuff, which is stupid numbers just for like buying toilets for the military or something. Okay, same crap. Okay, just in a different direction. They give you an actual breakdown of how they're recording their money, right, and showing that they paid. Here's an area here. Let's see, January 10th of 2020, maybe it looks like, for plastic pails, and they supposedly paid $10,000. Now this is the same crap that our deep state is doing with the black budget, guys. Same shit. Okay, just a different way of doing it, different setup. Okay, same systematical pattern though. So you can look at that if you want to. That's within the link of the previous link I gave you, or link I'm giving you now. No, yeah, the previous link I gave you, not the one I got on the bottom of the page at the moment. And then if you need that again, I'll post that. That's this right here. Okay. So that's that. All right, let's see here. Which is what that whole page has a lot to read. I'm not going to go into this because I'm probably already in a 2-hour situation. But yeah. Again, they show a lot of documents in here. You can also go to that file I told you about in the previous link before this one I'm showing you on a lot of this stuff. And the way they're red flagging at what they're looking at on the red flags, maybe. Okay. Or what has already been red flagged that they're already even looking at, already have recorded out currently. I mean, here's the thing, right? The B family, yeah, they're on the POTUS situation right now. And the whole Democrats think they got away with murder, right? But here's the thing. All of them you can reverse money trail on, including the Speaker of the House. This is how you do it. And how you nip it in the butt. And how we fix the system. And it doesn't take me to go to a private tuition school to figure this out. You just have to find the root of the problem, the eye of the problem. This is the eye of the storm. This is the eye of the problem. And this is how we have to bring it to light, and we actually have to talk about it and expose it. Number one thing for you guys to remember through anything that's in this program is exposure. Exposure, exposure, exposure. Okay? Exposure, exposure, exposure. Talking about it, getting bills, set up, getting your signatures for proposal for the bills, getting it into your state political system with a politician that may be on your side, okay? And get it moving further up the trail, get it moving up to the federal level, to the states, all the states. But anyway, I wanted to talk about this because everybody is kind of like depressed or down or whatever because of the whole situation with economics and supply and demand and not getting enough workers and not having enough goods to sell or get a hold of to whatever, all that crap. This is all part of the problem. This is the problem from that, or not, or vice versa. I mean, this is what I've shown you today is the center of the problem. Okay. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the show. Please share my show with other people, and I will put this in my Twitter page. And I hope you guys expose this for what it's worth, and send it up the Patriot Network. And maybe if we expose it over and over and over through our social media platforms or whatever, and we talk to our local politicians about it and state politicians about it and get a bill formulated in each and every state and then put together collectively, then maybe we, the people, can nip it in the butt. And I don't mean just we, the people. I mean everybody that lives in the U.S. Because honestly, all this stuff is kind of like a citizens consumer protection situation, protecting us citizen consumers against fraudulent acts. You get it? All right. With the info, we're out. We'll see you next time.